Let's hear from Sars now. Chief Revenue Officer Nqobani Makhubu joins us now to give us more. Well, good to have you, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Thabo, for having us. It is a pleasure to join you.
A milestone in a time where income is eroding. How did you achieve it?
It's a combination of factors, Thabo. We have said in the past that we believe in a revenue management system that is multidimensional. Yes, the economy, which does provide some ability for us to collect taxes, but also we believe that tax administration efforts or activities, you would know that some time back, unfortunately, Sars was eroded in terms of that capacity, but also the culture, the compliance culture in terms of taxpayers in the ecosystem also does play a part. So we have leveraged the three dimensions, i.e. the economy, but also around 227 billion that we reported today came from tax administration efforts that our 12,500 or so employees embarked on to ensure that we do bolster whatever we could be able to receive from the economic activities that various individuals and corporates undertook in the year 22-23.
Yeah. Talk about that economic activity. I mean, we see VAT bringing a huge chunk and personal income tax bringing a huge chunk. Corporate tax not making a very big part of that particular chunk that you made that got you to 2 trillion when I suppose they're expected to be putting in a little bit more. What's happening there?
Now, certainly, if you really look at the numbers, you will realize that at corporate income tax net level, we have seen around 347.9 billion coming in, which is a considerable growth, Thabo, from the prior year of about 27%. So we feel that corporate income taxes have contributed quite significantly in terms of the revenues that we are reporting. I must indicate that year on year, we would have seen some sectors contracting in terms of contribution to the revenues. We know, for instance, that the mining sector has seen a decline in terms of its contribution to tax revenues that we are reporting. And we also understand that largely most mining houses have struggled to evacuate their minerals out of the country, and therefore that has cost an impact on their profits. And I think it's an open and known fact that our logistics infrastructure has constrained the mining industry in terms of evacuating minerals out of the country, especially dirty minerals, so-called dirty minerals. So that we did see in terms of the corporate income taxes coming slightly under pressure. But at the same time, we saw significant growth in terms of the financial services sector, in terms of the corporate income taxes that they contributed. So almost balancing out some of the losses that we would have seen from the mining sector. So we are fortunate in South Africa that our tax system is quite multidimensional in that we are dependent not only on one sector of the economy. When mining declines, as we've seen in the year prior or the year under review, that financial services would have picked up, manufacturing would have picked up, and therefore allowing us to report the corporate income tax that is seeing some growth in excess of 20% in the period under review.
Yeah. But if you ask most South Africans, they'll say, well, it seems we are contributing more to this GDP and it does not seem to be working for us. Personal income tax and on VAT, meaning that we are still being charged more at the tills. We are paying more in terms of interest rates. We are paying more in terms of electricity that's going up, water that is going up. When are we getting any reprieve here?
Certainly, we are operating currently, unfortunately, in a very highly inflationary environment. And this is not only a South African domestic issue. The world over, both developed economies and developing economies are facing the challenge of high inflation. So we are sort of entangled or joined with the rest of the world in the high inflationary environment. But of course, I mean, if we look at the budget that the minister announced in February this year, there was quite a number of relief measures that were given to the tune of around 13 billion rands. including adjusting for bracket creep in terms of personal income taxes. And that, to an extent, does provide that type of relief. What we should be looking out for is inflation, and I think the monetary policy is responsive to the environment. And you'd have seen the MPC trying to raise interest rates to try and bring inflation back under control. So it's a combination, yes, of the monetary policy as well as the fiscal policy to try and bring the pressure that is borne to bear to the tax-paying South African to try and sort of reduce that. Last year, under the fuel levy, you would have seen that our fuel levy and the performance in that particular tax was down in the year. And that is exactly because of the around 10 billion rands relief that was given to taxpayers by the Minister of Finance in the course of the year. You'll recall that in May, April, June, and July, there was some fuel levy adjustment that was meant to give that relief. So the fiscal framework has been very responsive when taxpayers were under pressure.
Yeah. The tax refund turnaround time, I see on the Sars website, you're saying there possibly you could wait approximately 72 hours if you've provided us with your banking details correctly. Are you sticking to that 72 hours? What are the logs telling you in terms of the turnaround times?
So you recall that 72 hours largely was referring to personal income taxes. We were in the middle of the filing season, and we said that if everything is filed and you're not selected for any further verification, we would covenant with you to pay that personal income tax refund. And we have done around 36 billion rands of personal income tax refunds, which largely, majority of it, if people were not selected for an audit, was paid within 72 hours. And largely, you would have seen that around July, when we started the filing season, there was quite a significant outflow of PIT refunds that were paid earlier than before. You'd recall that in the past, you'd have to file your return, and only then it would be assessed, and then you'd be paid your refund. Because we implemented the auto-assessment process, where we auto-assessed around 2.8 million taxpayers. Those that we auto-assessed, we then paid out within those 72 hours. And those that couldn't fit the definition of a standard taxpayer, whose tax matters are simple, we then would have chosen to verify or audit them, and they would have taken a little bit longer. Maybe one needs to just look at the refunds. We feel that, or our data tells that the VAT refunds in particular, and we have said in today's results that we've paid to 318 billion in VAT refunds, and it's significant if you look at the year-on-year growth of 21.6% of those refunds, and about 84 to 85% of those refunds would have been paid within the 21 days. Yes, we want to improve this and make sure that more refunds are paid within 21 days, but we think we are well on our way in making sure that our service promise to taxpayers does improve in terms of those turnaround times. Thabo, thank you.
Much appreciated. Thanks for your time tonight. That's Sars Chief Revenue Officer Nqobani Makhubu.